Hi everyone, I am Jon Harari, CEO of windowsware.com, sending you greetings from New York. You are listening to HKL Radio. Stay tuned.
Todos tienen algo para contar, algo para informar y dejar una huella en un acontecimiento especial. Aquí da inicio Personajes. Acompáñanos el último domingo de cada mes con un invitado estelar, con la entrevista internacional de Angie Mera y la dirección de Alejandro Gómez. Personajes por HKL Radio, más internacional.
Bienvenidos a nuestro espacio periodístico llamado Personajes, el cual será emitido todos los últimos domingos de cada mes a las 6 de la tarde, hora Colombia, con repetición el siguiente domingo a las 2 de la tarde. En Personajes conocerán más a fondo a diferentes personalidades, tanto de Colombia como del mundo. Gente interesante que tiene mucho que compartir con toda nuestra querida audiencia. Yo, Angie Mera, los estaré acompañando en este espacio entrevistando a nuestros personajes. Bienvenidos. Queremos anunciar con gran felicidad que HKL Radio ya está en tu celular Android y muy pronto en tu iPhone. Descarga nuestra aplicación ya. Allí podrás escuchar toda nuestra programación, música, entrevistados, canal YouTube y mucho más. A la hora que quieras, en donde quieras. HKL Radio en tu celular.
Con ustedes, un invitado estelar en Personajes.
Our special guest in Personalities today is Jon Harari. Jon has been featured on television and through print and digital publications like Elle, WWD, The Wall Street Journal, and USA Today. Jon was featured as Top 40 Under 40 Fashion Professional by Design Retail magazine and awarded as a Top Investment Banking Analyst by Lehman Brothers. Jon Harari is CEO of windowsware.com, the world's fashion windows and displays online in real time, inspiration and trends for the world's top brands, creatives, and universities. Jon also serves as an adjunct professor of marketing at Baruch College and serves as a board member of Berkeley College's Fashion Advisory Board and several charitable nonprofit organizations in New York City. Jon is also a frequent speaker throughout New York City and around the world at university campuses and industry conferences. Prior to co-founding Windowsware, Jon established U.S. market opportunities for top internationally based designers through retail stores, wholesale events, PR, and online. Jon graduated from the Business Honors Program at Indiana University and is originally from North Potomac, Maryland. Nuestro invitado especial hoy en Personajes es Jon Harari. Jon ha sido entrevistado en televisión y en publicaciones digitales como Elle, WWD, The Wall Street Journal y USA Today. Jon forma parte del top 40 de los profesionales más exitosos de la industria de la moda en la revista Design Retail Magazine y premiado como top analista bancario de inversiones por los Lehman Brothers. Jon Harari es cofundador y presidente de windowsware.com, la vitrina en línea del mundo de la moda, en tiempo real, inspiración y tendencias para las más exclusivas marcas, las mentes creativas y las mejores universidades. Jon también es profesor adjunto de mercadeo en el Baruch College y es miembro de la junta directiva del Consejo de Asesores de Moda de Berkeley College y de distintas organizaciones sin ánimo de lucro en la ciudad de Nueva York. Es conferencista internacional en New York y alrededor del mundo en universidades y conferencias de la industria de la moda. Jon Harari se graduó con honores de la Universidad de Indiana y es originario de North Potomac en el estado de Maryland. Jon, gracias por acompañarnos hoy en Personajes, nuestro programa estrella en HKL Radio. Jon, thank you so much for being here with us in our stellar radio show, Personalities, here on HKL Radio.
Angie, thank you so much for inviting me to your radio show, Personalities, and special thanks to everyone that is listening to us right now around the world.
Angie, mil gracias por invitarme a tu programa y un saludo muy especial a toda la audiencia. John, como en todas mis entrevistas, me gusta empezar desde el principio. Háblanos de tu niñez, de tu familia, dónde naciste. John, let's start with your childhood, your family. Where were you born?
I was born in North Potomac, Maryland. My family is Israeli, so both my parents immigrated from Israel to the U.S. because they wanted to have a family here. But pretty much all my family actually still lives in Israel. So my grandma lives there. I'm actually going to be going to Israel next week to see her. She's about 95 years old, so wow. It's amazing she's still alive. And a lot of my aunts and uncles and cousins all live there. But, I was born here and I live here, and I have a younger sister here as well. She lives in Florida. My mom still lives in Israel. My parents are divorced, and my dad lives in Florida. And, I had a great upbringing. I think that it's very unique to have been born to Israeli parents because Israel is a country where, a lot of people are every single day struggling for their survival. And it's a country where I also think that people are doing very big things and they're very entrepreneurial and, they're just trying to, do the best that they can given their circumstances. And so when I was born, those are the values that I was ingrained with. So always trying to help other people, be able to accomplish the most with what you have resourcefully, as well as education. So education was very strong, and my parents always valued my education more than anything else.
Yo nací en North Potomac, Maryland. Mi familia es de Israel, así que mis padres emigraron a los Estados Unidos porque querían criar su familia acá. Pero casi toda mi familia todavía vive en Israel. Mi abuela, por ejemplo, a quien voy a visitar la próxima semana, ya tiene 95 años. Y mis tíos y primos aún viven allá. Yo nací acá en Estados Unidos y vivo acá. Tengo una hermana menor que vive en la Florida. Mi madre todavía vive en Israel. Mis padres son divorciados. Mi padre vive también en la Florida. Tuve una infancia maravillosa. Es muy interesante haber sido criado por padres israelíes, porque Israel es un país donde día a día se lucha por sobrevivir, pero también hay mucho espíritu de emprendedor. Y me enseñaron a ayudar a otros y a lograr mucho con los recursos que tuviera a la mano y muchísima prioridad a mi educación. A tu edad has logrado mucho a nivel profesional, tanto que formas parte de los profesionales top, debajo de 40 años en la industria fashion de la moda. Pero antes de entrar en detalles de tu carrera, cuéntanos de tu vida como estudiante desde primaria hasta la universidad. For your age, you're a highly accomplished professional and you were actually featured in Design Retail magazine on the top 40 under 40 fashion professionals. But before we get into your career and company, tell us about your school life. Were you always a good student since elementary and throughout high school and college?
Yeah, no, so I appreciate all those compliments. And, for me, I think that I was always a good student. Growing up, I never got straight A's. I always kind of got B's, but I was always in honors classes. I always liked to joke around and have fun in growing up. In elementary school, middle school, and high school, I was always like a joker. But I feel like I was always smart enough to get by, but I never, in elementary school and middle school and in high school, I don't think that I fully applied myself academically.
You were on the creative side.
Yeah, and a little bit more fun, and I was kind of more joking around and just just getting B's, not necessarily getting A's, not necessarily getting C's, not necessarily the best student, but I was always very smart. And until I actually got to college, I started getting straight A's. And when I went to college, that was really the first time that I really applied myself academically, and I excelled. I mean, I graduated with some of the most top honors in college, because that was when I applied myself.
Yo creo que siempre fui un buen estudiante, pero creciendo nunca tuve solo A's, o sea, nunca fui el mejor de la clase ni el excelente, pero siempre estuve en clases honorarias, fui más bien como el payasito de la clase, nunca el mejor, nunca el peor, pero creo que siempre fui lo suficientemente inteligente para salir adelante. Y una vez entré a la universidad, sí busqué la excelencia y me gradué como uno de los mejores con honores. Sí, correcto. Te graduaste con honores del programa de negocios de la Universidad de Indiana. ¿Por qué escogiste esta universidad y por qué escogiste la carrera de negocios? Right, you graduated with honors from the business program at Indiana University. Why Indiana University, and why did you choose business?
So like I said before, until I went to college, I really applied myself. And that actually happened for two reasons. One, my parents got divorced in between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college. And that was like a shock to me. And it really put me in a different zone mentality. And I literally said to myself, the only way that I'm going to focus on that is to do very well in school. So I just fully immersed myself with education and doing well in college. And I was also part of Army ROTC. So a lot of my family is Israeli. All of my aunts, uncles, cousins, my parents, they all were in the Israeli military. And so for me, I always felt that growing up in the U.S., I was given certain things that my family in Israel doesn't have. Like, I don't necessarily have to serve in the military like they do.
Right.
And so a lot of my family on my mom's side and my dad's side, they have accomplished a lot in regards to the Israeli military, and it's something that they're very proud of. And so for me, I didn't necessarily have that story, so I wanted to actually serve in the American military when I first started doing school. But what ended up happening was I did very well in school, and I had even more opportunities. And so that's why I chose business, finance. And for me to choose business and finance in school was because I always wanted to do something entrepreneurially. Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to start my own business, do it from scratch, and make it big and global. So I wanted to go from one extreme to another extreme. And I feel like I'm still in the process of doing that. But that's why I chose business and finance, because finance, I worked at Lehman Brothers in investment banking here in New York. That was my first job out of college. And I chose that because in finance, you get to learn about many different companies. And if you have the financial skill set, you can analyze any company, any industry at any point in time of that company's life cycle. And so for me, I never knew what I wanted to do entrepreneurially. I just felt like I would want to have the skills that I would need to really understand business.
Wow, increíble cómo los negocios y el entenderlos hace crecer a una persona. El estudio de verdad que es una herramienta muy, muy poderosa. Jon, ¿siempre fuiste de espíritu emprendedor o lo aprendiste en el camino? Did you always have an entrepreneurial spirit, or have you learned it through experience?
So for me, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but at the same time, I've also learned it through experience. And working in corporate America, my first couple jobs out of school, I never really got to hone into that entrepreneurial spirit because I was trapped by, the corporation. And until I actually left corporate America and started doing my own businesses, I really understood what it is to be an entrepreneur and what it is to think on your feet and how to build something from scratch and how to work with people you've never worked with before. How do you, even when you're talking to someone, how do you know if that person is credible, if what they're saying is true? Are you going to help them in their business? Are they going to help you? There's so many different aspects that you have to entertain, but at the same time, it's so much more exciting, so much more fun, and what you're building is building it on your own. I kind of joke around that, having your own business is kind of like having your own baby. There's no other feeling like that in the world, and at the same time, you give that baby everything that you got. You give it all the resources that you can. You want it to have the best possible life, and you're always there to support it and its growth.
What was the challenges that you faced, the worst challenges that you faced while you were doing that change from corporate to make your own business? Look,
working in finance in New York, you make a lot of money, and you're also one of the few people in the world that have the opportunity to be in a position where you're just destined for financial success, right? If you work on Wall Street in New York City, there are tens of thousands, millions of people around the world. It's very competitive, trying to get a job in a city like New York, working in high finance on Wall Street. I worked at a hedge fund. Even those positions are very coveted, they're very competitive, and they're very difficult to get. And basically I said, you know what, this thing that everyone else wants is not necessarily the thing that I want, ultimately. Right. And what I want is something on my own and something a little bit different.
Boss.
Exactly. Yeah. And I wanted something a little bit more creative, because in finance, you're just dealing with finance, and you're dealing with numbers, and you're dealing with other finance people. But in what I'm doing now, I deal with so many different types of people at different levels.
So, sí, yo siempre tuve un espíritu de emprendedor, pero también lo aprendí en el camino. Mis primeros 2 trabajos fueron corporativos y yo era empleado, pero cuando dejé estos empleos, cuando identifiqué que esto no era lo mío, cuando empecé a sentir esa claustrofobia corporativa, digámoslo así, y a entender que lo mío era tener mi propio negocio, empecé a aprender a cómo construir algo de la nada, cómo trabajar con gente, cómo escoger, cómo analizar, identificar quién es quién y las intenciones. Tener tu propio negocio es como tener tu propio bebé. Empiezas desde cero, le enseñas a caminar, lo proteges, lo alimentas y pues nada se compara con ese proceso. Sí, 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 muy interesante. John, tú trabajaste con los Lehman Brothers, donde fuiste condecorado como top analista de inversiones. Háblanos de tu experiencia en este sector, si te gustó y cuándo y cómo decidiste cambiar inversiones por el mundo de la moda. John, you used to work for the Lehman Brothers where you were awarded as the top investment analyst. Tell us about your experience on the investment sector, how you liked it, and how and when you decided to switch to the fashion world.
Yeah, so I worked at Lehman, and I was investment banking analyst at Lehman for about 3 years, from 2005 to 2008. And yeah, I was awarded as a top investment banking analyst. And that was a great experience. That was my first job out of school. I worked over 100 hours a week doing financial modeling and pitch books and presentations and meeting with other finance people in order to basically generate the biggest deals. And I was in the mergers and acquisitions group at Lehman Brothers, and I worked on multi-billion-dollar deals. I worked extensively on that. And what I ultimately realized, because I went into finance because I wanted to do something entrepreneurially, and what I realized was in finance, at the end of the day, the most successful financiers, the top investment banking professionals, were not necessarily the best financial professionals. They were just the best sales and marketing people. So the top bankers at Lehman and what I saw was they were just excellent at communicating, and they were excellent salespeople, and they had great interpersonal skills. They had great client skills. And ultimately, what I learned was that in order to do well in business, you have to just be an excellent sales and marketing professional.
And how you did that switch to fashion? What really sparked that passion for fashion?
Yeah. So my interest in fashion came the first day that I started working at Lehman. And I walk into the corporate headquarters, there's over 5,000 people in the building, and everyone looked the same, talked the same, and dressed the same.
Right, right.
And my first instinct was, if I stay here for too long, I'm going to turn into a corporate zombie. That is literally what I felt. And so then I said to myself, I've got to visually do something else that is different, something that is me, something that I can do independently. Exactly. And so I thought about it, and I noticed there were certain guys at the office that would match their tie color to their cufflink color, or they would expose the logo of their Hermes or Ferragamo tie as being like edgy or like, cool. More cool or more fashionable. But I thought that was kind of all lame. And I said to myself, there must be something that I could wear and make myself visually look different, because I need to have my own sense of identity in this organization. So I started wearing suspenders. I started wearing suspenders. No one in the entire global headquarters wore suspenders except for the vice chairman, who is a 60-year-old man who is just extremely overweight and obese. And he had to wear them because there was no belt that would fit him. And here I am, this 23-year-old guy wearing suspenders. And cool. I got so much attention, so much. I would walk past all these senior bankers' offices, people that are multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, right? Some of the top people on Wall Street, and every single one of them, as I would pass their office, would call me in, and half of them told me I looked aggressive, and the other half told me I looked awesome. And what my interest in fashion came at that time. I said to myself, wow, fashion is so powerful. All I've done is change one thing. It still fit within the formal dress code of Lehman, right? You can wear pants two ways with a belt or with suspenders, so it's still a formal dress code. I was not doing anything beyond that. It wasn't like I was coming in naked to work or something, doing
Right.
something crazy. And at the same time, it generated so much interest, and it piqued the interest of all these people. And they were all looking at me, thinking about me, noticing me. And I thought, and then I looked back and I looked at, where did I ever get any formal education? Where even 5 minutes of someone presenting at Lehman Brothers what you should wear to the office, what you should wear for a client meeting. Even I went to a top business school, at Indiana University, and there was not even one class to talk about how you should dress, what you should wear for different occasions, how to think about colors, textures.
Right.
And then I said to myself, wow, this is such an important field, right? Everyone knows that within the first 10 seconds of meeting someone, you're already going to
Get an impression.
Yeah, exactly. Like first impressions matter.
Yes.
And then think about every business meeting that people have been in, every time that they've interacted with the client, and no one's responsible for at least educating that workforce or educating that person
Right.
of what you have to wear. I thought it was just a huge opportunity, and the more I thought about fashion, the more I thought there was so much untapped potential here.
Sí, trabajé en Lehman cerca de 3 años, fue mi primer trabajo después de graduarme. Fue una experiencia impresionante. Fui galardonado como top analista de inversiones. Trabajaba más de 100 horas por semana haciendo presentaciones, análisis de mercadeo, reuniones con financistas para generar los contratos más favorables, cuentas multimillonarias. Y aprendí que las ventas y el marketing son una de las mejores herramientas para emprendedores. Ok, hablemos ahora sí de tu compañía windowswear.com, la cual es la mejor vitrina en línea del mundo de la moda en tiempo real. ¿Es una plataforma de compras en línea o solamente para mostrar lo último en fashion de las mejores casas de moda? ¿Cómo son las dinámicas de tu compañía? Okay, let's talk about your company, windowswear.com, which is the best world's fashion windows and displays online in real time. When was founded? What exactly means displays online in real time? Is it a shopping platform or a fashion display for the best brands only? What are the dynamics and purpose of this company?
So Windowswear, we're like Google Earth and Vogue Archives for fashion windows and displays. So we say to ourselves, there are all these amazing windows and all these stores that exist all around the world, and they're constantly changing. And it's so important to understand, if you work in the industry or even if you're a consumer, to understand what's going on in all these retail stores all around the world. And we also said to ourselves, this is a $1 billion industry worldwide. There are millions of people that are visually exposed, right? Everyone's looking at these windows, at these stores, and tens of thousands of people worldwide also work in this area. And we said to ourselves, where's the database, right? If you're in movies, right, there's IMDb. If you if you work in real estate, there's a Real Deal. There's resources that tell you every transaction. If you work in finance, there's Bloomberg. So we're like the ultimate database for fashion windows and displays. We started the company in 2012. I've got 2 business partners. Mike Nimzow, he's the president and CFO. I actually know him because we used to be colleagues together at Lehman Brothers. And Raul Tovar, who's our head of photography, I know him because he used to be head of photography of another company that I co-founded prior to starting Windowswear. And so we have a very close team. We've got about 20 people around the world that work at the company. And for us, everything that we're doing as a company is exactly what Fashion Week did for the designers. So Fashion Week organized all the designers, brought them together on a common stage, brought in press, brought in publicity, made it an event, a unique experience, brought sponsors. And really, Fashion Week and the fashion industry is an ecosystem, and one complements the other. And the Fashion Week helps to market the designers, communicate all the latest trends, makes it an experience. Fashion is an experience, brings in celebrities, and it makes it an exclusive experience. And so what we're doing as a company is doing all those same things, but instead of doing it for designers, we're doing it for all the windows.
Bueno, Windowswear, nosotros somos como Google Earth o los archivos de Vogue para vitrinas de moda. Así que nos dijimos un día, existen todas estas vitrinas de moda alrededor del mundo, cambiando constantemente, y es tan importante conocer y saber qué sucede en las tiendas alrededor del mundo. Es una industria billonaria mundial, millones de personas están expuestas visualmente a estas vitrinas y muchas personas también trabajan para esta misma industria y nos preguntamos, ¿dónde está la base de datos? Para los artistas, para los actores, para los actores de teatro, los cantantes está el IMBD, para el real estate hay diferentes sitios de base de datos, para finanzas está Bloomberg, así que nosotros creamos la base de datos de última generación para la industria de la moda. Empezamos la compañía en el 2012, tengo 2 socios, somos muy unidos, tenemos la misma dinámica de Fashion Week, unimos los diseñadores o unimos en nuestro caso específico vitrinas virtuales de la moda, les hacemos publicidad y nos complementamos mutuamente. ¿Puedes mencionar las marcas más importantes, los creativos y universidades con quienes trabajas? ¿Cuál es tu criterio para escoger tus clientes? ¿Algo en particular? If you can you mention some of the top brands, creatives, and universities you work with? Do you pick your clients by certain standards, like only organic, eco brands, or high-end brands, fair trade, etc.?
So we work with the best brands globally. We work with the best brands, the best creative teams, the best universities. Mm-hmm. We work with the best of the best, and we showcase the best of the best. And how we define what is the best, we look at all the top cities, New York, Paris, Milan, London, Barcelona, LA, Hong Kong, Mexico City, Tokyo, Berlin, etc., all around the world. And we look at the best shopping districts within those cities. So for instance, in New York, Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue, Flatiron, Soho, Meatpacking. If you're a fashion retailer and you're in those fashion districts, then you are notable enough where we cover you. Mm-hmm. And it's like Fashion Week, right? Fashion Week around the world, they're in New York, it's in Paris, it's in London, it's in Milan. And the designers that show during Fashion Week are the best designers. So even though there might exist tens of thousands of designers all around the world, mm-hmm. It's that Fashion Week works with the best of the best and showcases the best of the best. And we're kind of like the same thing, but for the windows. Okay. And we would love to showcase every single window all around the world. Mm-hmm. And we could get there. It's just that as we've started this, we have to start with the best of the best, and then we could always do more from there.
Pues nosotros trabajamos con las mejores marcas globalmente, las mejores universidades, trabajamos para los mejores y somos los mejores. ¿Y cómo definimos nosotros los mejores? Miramos las principales ciudades, Nueva York, Milán, París, Londres, Hong Kong, Los Ángeles, Barcelona, Tokio, etc. Y miramos los mejores distritos de compras en cada ciudad. Ejemplo, New York es Madison Avenue, la Quinta Avenida, Soho. Y así mismo trabajamos con las principales vitrinas de moda. También nos gustaría expandirnos a darles campo a marcas no muy reconocidas, pero de gran talento, y llegaremos ahí paulatinamente. Acerca de los tours de fashion que tú ofreces en Nueva York, Shanghái y Londres, ¿cuánto cuestan? ¿Son para gente regular, turistas, corporaciones? ¿Cómo funciona eso? About the fashion tours you offer in New York City and Shanghai, London, how much are they? Are they for regular people or only tourists and corporations? How it works?
So we operate a fashion window walking tour here in New York, as well as in Shanghai and London. And what we do is we treat the streets of New York, of Shanghai, of London, and we're actually working on launching it in other cities as well. We treat them like a rotating art exhibit, like a museum. Mm-hmm. And so the streets of the museum are like the halls of the museum. And what is being showcased are the latest products, the latest fashions that are curated in a very creative way. And there's always a lot of collaborations. Mm-hmm. So we essentially, just like a guided tour of a museum, where someone's going to tell you about the history of the artist, they're going to tell you what inspired that painting, and they're also going to tell you what that artist is known for, how they fit in within the landscape of other artists.
It's art.
Exactly. And so just like Fashion Week helped to elevate the designers, mm-hmm. right? We're saying that this is an art form, this is a performance, this is an experience. We're doing the same thing, but for all the retail store windows. And look, the tours are so much fun, and the content's always changing.
Does that have a cost?
So the tours have a cost. You can go on our site. Right now the tours are $34.99 per person. And we do private tours. We do tours we have a lot of professionals that come in, like fashion professionals that do the tour. We also do the tour for tourists. So there's many different types of people that like taking the tour. I would even say that you don't even have to have an interest in retail or fashion. We actually get a lot of guys and girls coming on the tour together, and the guys are thinking that they're doing the girl a favor because they think that the girl likes fashion, but it ends up turning out that the guy really thought that the tour was very interesting because we share a lot of information and facts that I think are just very interesting regardless.
Nice. Are you involving schools too, like teenagers and stuff like that, or you are?
Yeah. I mean, like literally this morning, someone called from the UN and they want to come and bring students who visit the UN to then our tour, you know? So we get all different shapes and sizes, all different types of people from around the world, all different age groups.
And that was your idea?
So the tour came to us after we were meeting with all these window display designers and learning about them and what they do and what inspired how their work is inspired. And we said to ourselves, wow, this is amazing. New York's a fashion capital, London's a fashion capital, you have millions of people coming in. Fashion, it's also fashion experiences like Fashion Week are not accessible to the public.
No.
And so, but at the same time, people want to come here and they have fashion on their mind and they want to learn more about the industry. And so we're like, why don't we just create this tour? And it really took off.
Very affordable and very towards regular people.
Look,
regular groups.
I did not, and also the window display designers love the tour as well. They love coming on the tour. They love presenting. A lot of them come and speak to our tour groups from time to time.
Nice.
We had, in doing the tour, if you can believe this, right, because it's a tour of the windows, we've even had 2 people who are blind take the tour.
Wow.
Yeah, like I would have never imagined. That's why when people are like, who takes this tour? I'm like, everyone takes this tour. And I could never imagine someone blind coming and taking the tour. But our tour guide Jolene, who runs our tours, she's amazing. She's an actor. She's so descriptive. So, you could really imagine it. Yeah, really get into it. And it's amazing. And it really brings it to life. Yeah, so, the tours are a lot of fun and they're great.
Sí, nosotros operamos tours de fashion acá en Nueva York y también en Shanghai y Londres. So, lo que hacemos es que utilizamos las calles de moda de Nueva York o Londres o Shanghai como un museo, por medio de colaboraciones también, y llevamos a la gente por un viaje a la moda describiendo las vitrinas como obras de arte que son la historia, la inspiración. Es muy divertido. Son tours muy innovadores, una experiencia muy especial. El costo por persona actualmente es de $34.99 y los hacemos para corporaciones, para turistas, para familias, para personas de diferentes grupos sociales. Y hasta el momento ha sido una experiencia muy maravillosa. ¡Wow! ¡Qué experiencia tan especial y qué idea tan maravillosa los tours de moda! Jon, en tu opinión, ¿cuál es la moda actual, el trending que llaman en New York, ciudad que lidera gran parte de la industria de la moda junto con París, con Londres? ¿Crees que nos estamos devolviendo a los 90s o o vamos a ser futuristas? ¿Cómo estamos en ese aspecto? In your opinion, what is the current fashion trending in New York, who leads great part of the fashion market with Paris and London? Are we going back to the 90s or we are going to be more futuristic?
That's so funny that you say that because I was going to say we are in the 90s and it's all about being futuristic at the same time. Okay. So I think that those 2 themes are definitely on trend here in New York as well as around the world.
And are they, how can I say this? Are we taking some fashion ideas that doesn't exist? Because everything in fashion comes and goes. It's like a trend. So what we have new that it does not exist and we don't have to go to the 90s or 60s or nothing.
The one thing that's new because you're right, everything always comes back, and fashion is always inspired by what's going on in different cultural disciplines and in world politics. And what fashion is a current pulse on what's going on in the world. The difference, I would say, between fashion today versus fashion in previous times is the integration of technology and digital into apparel. So, for instance, I would say our phones are fashion. Fashion and technology is becoming more and more prevalent in our daily lives, and the products that we use are becoming more fashionable, right? So it's fashionable to be to have an Apple laptop and sitting in Starbucks, right? That's that's part of your fashion, part of the way that you've communicated to your appearance and the way that you've branded yourself.
So, es chistoso que mencione los 90s es el futurismo cuando en realidad ese es el trending fashion actual en Nueva York y alrededor del mundo. Los años 90 vuelven y también estamos buscando el futurismo, la identidad de la tecnología, los teléfonos celulares, la vida rápida, todo lo que tiene que ver con este siglo. También lo estamos poniendo en contacto con los 90s. Danos un ejemplo en qué tanto la tecnología impacta el mundo de la moda, cómo nos vestimos, qué marca escogemos. Give us an example on how much the technology is impacting the fashion world and the way we dress and choose a brand.
So, technology is allowing us to directly communicate and access more and more people, right? A few hundred years ago, you would only know 50 to 200 people in your lifetime.
Right.
Now you have the opportunity to know thousands, tens of thousands, millions, and directly impact and reach them. I would argue the goal of fashion, when you break it all down, is to connect people. At the end of the day, that's all we're doing. We're all expressing ourselves, and the point of expressing ourselves is ultimately to connect with other people.
Right.
And what technology is doing, it's doing the same exact thing. It's allowing us to connect people. So in choosing a brand, it's that we're all becoming brands, and we all are brands. And that's the reason, it's part of the reason why we can all be able to connect with people, because we're communicating what our brand is. And then fashion is about accessing people and connecting with people. And so both of those things are going on at the same time.
Pues la tecnología está haciendo algo maravilloso y es que nos está permitiendo acceder más y más personas de manera directa, cosa que no era posible años atrás sin el internet, sin tanta facilidad móvil para expresarnos, para comunicarnos con otros. El fin de la moda es expresarnos, es conectarnos con otros, es una necesidad de expresión, de compartir nuestros gustos, nuestro estilo de vida, nuestras pasiones, y la tecnología en realidad está haciendo eso en un trabajo doble, el cual por un lado nos expresamos y por otro lado nos conectamos, y con mucha más gente de lo que antes hubiéramos podido hacer. Jon, tu mercado es principalmente los Estados Unidos, Europa y Asia. ¿Qué nos dices de Centroamérica y Suramérica? Jon, your market is primarily the US, Europe and Asia. What about Central and South America?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that, South America is a huge market for us, and we actually have a lot of clients in South America. This year we're working on getting all the windows of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil on our site, and maybe even Sao Paulo. So we're definitely expanding all around the world, and in 4 years, it's not like we could have expanded everywhere instantly.
No.
But we are more and more going to other places and other cities. And like I said before, we have a lot of clients. We work with a lot of people in South America. We got press today from Brazil. We have a lot of traffic from that part of the world.
Now you're getting press from Colombia.
Yeah, now in Colombia, look, the biggest challenge here is we're a global company. And everyone can understand the windows. It's not a matter of that. One of our biggest challenges is just letting people know that we exist. And I would say a challenge to that, because there's no other company in the world doing what we're doing. So it's not like we're a coffee shop or a bank or a restaurant where you know of something else like it, and you're familiar with it. With Windows Wear, our site, our tours, the events that we do, the people that we work with, there's no other really competitor out there in the world, and so that's both a positive thing.
An advantage.
It's definitely an advantage, and we definitely love to be in that position. But at the same time, the challenge is educating people that we exist. And I would say
media is a big platform for you guys.
Yeah, and online, but even just speaking the language, speaking the local language. Speaking Spanish, speaking Portuguese.
Right.
Everything that we're doing is in English, and English is only 4% of the entire world. So if our website, if everything that we communicated was in Mandarin Chinese, that would be 16% of the world.
Right.
So we would have 4 times of an advantage just by the language that we speak. So we have to be speaking 5 or 6 different languages at all times in the same way that we're doing it. And I think if we did that, then we would be able to reach these markets much more quicker. But, it's kind of not...
Eventually you reach...
Eventually, definitely.
Sí, Sudamérica es un cliente muy importante para nosotros. De hecho, este año estaremos alistando vitrinas en Río de Janeiro, en Brasil, quizás Sao Paulo. Así que tenemos muchísimos planes de expansión. Hemos captado la atención de medios mexicanos, ahora con la emisora también aquí en HKL de Colombia, por medio tuyo, Angie. También Centroamérica está muy interesado. Pero en 4 años pues estamos yendo paso por paso y nuestra idea es expandirnos, por supuesto. Según tengo entendido, eres también profesor de mercadeo en Baruch College y miembro de la junta directiva de la Universidad de Berkeley del Departamento de Fashion. Háblanos de esta experiencia. So, you're also a professor of marketing in Baruch College and board member of Berkeley College's Fashion Advisory Board. Tell us about this experience.
Yes, so I'm an adjunct professor of marketing and public relations at Baruch, and this is actually my 5th semester teaching. I love teaching. My mom was a kindergarten teacher. She actually gave me the best management advice I've ever gotten in my life.
Awesome.
I asked my mom, because she was a kindergarten teacher, how do you manage kids, right? How do you put all these kids, 20, 30 kids that are all running around, yelling, screaming, crying, how do you get them to do what you want them to do? It's not like you can physically force any kid to do anything, right? You're not going to do that. So what do you do, right, with all these kids running around? And she's like, it's very easy. All you do is you put all their names on a board, and when you tell them to do something and they do it, you give them stickers. And then all the kids compete to make sure that they're getting the most stickers.
Motivation.
And then I said to myself, wow, that's every single person. You just put them all together and you give them stickers, you acknowledge them. So I was always interested in teaching. I do it on the side. It's something that I do once a week. I'm a professor of marketing. And then, the Fashion Advisory Board is also great. That meets every couple months. And I'm also part of a lot of nonprofit boards here in the city. So I always like to get involved, always like to help where I can. And that's what I do with my free time.
Oh, sí, me encanta enseñar. Llevo 5 semestres enseñando en Baruch. Mi madre fue profesora de kindergarten y ella me dio unos tips muy interesantes para el salón de clase, como por ejemplo, para mantener los estudiantes atentos, escribir sus nombres en el tablero, darles stickers, no importa la edad, por el comportamiento y los logros, eso siempre funciona, es una motivación increíble. También me reúno una vez al mes con la junta directiva para planeación y tengo obras sociales y demás, y así me gusta invertir el tiempo. So, antes de fundar windowswear.com, estableciste mercadeo americano para diseñadores internacionales en tiendas, en eventos en línea. ¿Puedes mencionar estos diseñadores y cómo fue este proceso? Prior to co-founding Windowswear, you established U.S. market opportunities for top internationally based designers through retail stores, wholesale, events, PR, and online. Can you name some of these designers you supported, and how was that process?
Yeah, so prior to Windowswear, I was co-founder of a women's clothing store here in New York called Misha Nicole. And that was a company I started with an ex-girlfriend of mine. We actually started it while I was working at Lehman, and it just kept on growing over time. And it was something that I did on the side, something that she did on the side. And the premise was, there are all these amazing designers that exist in other parts of the world. Specifically, the market that we focused on was India. India is a place where traditionally there's a lot of textiles and resources. And, if you look back thousands of years ago, people went to places like India and China for luxury. Now you just think everything's manufactured there, and you think maybe luxury comes from Europe or Milan or Paris. If you look at the timeline of human history, luxury actually came out of India and China.
Yes.
And so then we said to ourselves, there are all these amazing designers. They show in runway shows in Bombay, in New Delhi. They're known in India. They're known all over the Middle East. Mm-hmm. But no one knows them at all in the U.S. So we're like, let's just create a brand, create a store, and let's exclusively feature these top international designers here in New York. So we worked with a lot of different designers.
Can you name
Yeah,
some
like
of them?
Tarun Taliani. Mm-hmm. He's like the Oscar de la Renta of India. Mm-hmm. Manish Arora. He's like the Alexander McQueen of India. Mm-hmm. Designers like that. My personal favorite, Payal Singhal, who's a Bombay-based designer. Designers like that are very big in that part of the world, but I'm sure that either of those three names, I'm sure a lot of people are not familiar with. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that in this world where everything's becoming more global and accessible, that if you're a great designer in a certain market, you're going to do well globally. And it's just a matter of finding the opportunity and taking advantage of it.
Very interesting.
So we did everything. Yeah.
Sí, antes de Windows Wear, yo fui cofundador de una tienda de mujeres llamada La Misión es Llamar, y la idea de esta compañía era traer o apoyar diseñadores no muy famosos, pero con mucho talento, y nuestro enfoque fue India por su riqueza textilera. Jon, muchísimas gracias por haber estado con nosotros en el día de hoy en HKL Radio en Personajes. Para cerrar esta entrevista tan maravillosa, por favor, danos un mensaje a todos los emprendedores, a todos aquellos que quieren empezar un negocio. Jon, thank you so much for your time here with us. To close this great interview, please give a message to all the entrepreneurs and business starters out there.
Thank you to Angie and all the staff of HKL Radio in Colombia, the U.S., and around the world. Thank you all again. Bye.
Y mi mensaje final que les quiero decir, si he inspirado a alguien acá en la radio, me gustaría que me visitaran en mi website, que me escribieran si quieren trabajar conmigo, si quieren compartir ideas. Por favor, escríbanme www.jonharari.com, JONHARARI.com. También me pueden añadir a cualquier red social. Estoy en todas las redes sociales, en Facebook, en Instagram, en LinkedIn, en todas. Y no se les olvide siempre comunicar sus ideas, ser creativos, no tener miedo, porque los emprendedores siempre tienen miedo de comunicar sus ideas, de estar constantemente intercambiando ideas, pero es lo mejor es siempre intercambiar ideas, porque siempre hay alguien que va a apoyarlos y va a hacer la fuerza para que eso se pueda lograr.
Personajes.
Y este fue nuestro espacio estrella en HKL Radio Personajes, bajo la dirección de Alejandro Gómez y quien les habla, Angie Mera. Esperamos hayan disfrutado este espacio y no se les olvide seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales, Facebook, fanpage HKL Radio, Twitter HKL_radio y escríbenos a angiemerahklradio@gmail.com, ANGYMERA@gmail.com para dejarnos tus comentarios y sugerencias de personajes. Los invito para que sigan en sintonía. Besos para todos. Bye.
HKL Radio Más Internacional presentó Personajes con la entrevista internacional de Angie Mera y la dirección de Alejandro Gómez. Los invitamos a una próxima oportunidad. Personajes.